What's up, everyone? My name is Alex, and I use he, him, his pronouns, or AMR's pronouns, and I wanted to talk about accommodating the different parts of my gender in order to validate and just feel good about those gendered experiences. So to explain, I recently found out that I am bigender. I did a video on that, and I'm also very sorry that it's been so long since I uploaded a video. At least it feels like it's been so long. There's been so much happening, and I thought that it was way better if I just took a break and focused on the stuff happening like in my actual like personal life. So there's a lot going on right now, and I'm slowly trying to get back into the swing of things and start recording actual regular content. At least over the summer, I'm going to try my best to get caught up and to focus on projects that I am working on. There's a lot of stuff that I've been working on behind the scenes, and hopefully those become an actual tangible result, a tangible thing that I can like show in the near future. Anyway, found out that I'm bigender recently, male and neutroi. My fiance hates the way I pronounce that, mostly because while I love the way French is pronounced, I can't do French and English in the same sentence like that. It's a little difficult. So yeah, I found that out recently, and I did talk about, in some recent video, I talked about struggling with figuring out how to present. The idea of kind of standing in my closet and looking at the two halves of my wardrobe, that should have been a dead giveaway as to like why I couldn't place a label to my gendered experience. I was avoiding any and all multigender labels, not realizing that demigender falls under multigender. But I did talk about confusion over how to present, and I figured that would be a really good talking point. I brought this up with someone recently and talked about like how just presenting in a different way on different days based on how you are feeling gender-wise that day is really weird and confusing for me, and something I kind of struggle with. And basically, the advice I was told was accommodate the parts of you can't afford to ignore. And I like that. I like that a lot. Kind of like focus on what's important to you. So I wrote that at the top of the page. I'm not sure why. That would have been a great closing statement, but that kind of stuck with me. So I might have already solved this issue before I realized it, but I just want to like talk a little bit about my thoughts on this really weird struggle I'm having. So parts that I want to accommodate, parts of me that I basically want to show the world, like, this is me, and I'm presenting in such a way to reflect this part of me. Obviously my malehood or demi-malehood, my partial connection to the male experience. I want to be able to pass as male by presenting masculinely without it getting into the realm of hyper masculine. That's a phase I kind of grew out of coming out of high school. I kind of dropped that kind of stuff just because I was also sort of exhibiting like toxic ideas as to what makes a man, like being crude and being abrasive and just not having a care in the world about other people or myself. Recklessness. So that went out the window pretty fast as I matured and realized that like that's not the way to go. But I want to go for a more soft masculinity. I think that's the best way to describe how my masculinity is, or what I usually kind of say is like a neutral. I should not be picking at my face. I am so sorry. I guess a neutral leaning masculine presentation is what I'd like, at least on those days where I feel a little bit more masculine, because I realize that I do have different gendered experiences on different days. I just chose to ignore it for a very long time. I really want to pick apart my bigender experience and what that label means for me right now. Maybe in a future video I can kind of pick it apart and talk about all the little pieces that make up that identity, because God knows I did that with the Demi Boy label a lot. But presenting masculinely, passing as male, using masculine terminology to refer to myself, and using he, him pronouns, that part of my identity, like, I've always believed that to be a larger part of my identity, like, mostly male and part something else. Like, that's what I've always believed it to be. I don't know if that ever fluctuates or changes or anything, but that's the way I see it. The most important part is the malehood, I suppose. My neutrality, being neutroi. I like the idea of neutral presentation, but maybe leaning more into masculine. I don't even know what neutral presentation means. Is it epicenic, like being androgynous? I'm not really sure. I feel like androgynous is purposefully trying to neutralize one's gender presentation and presumed gender by presenting in a way that's like right dead center in the middle, and you can't really tell one way or another. Like, I feel like that's more of a purposeful way of presenting than neutral is, but I'm not really sure. But my gender neutralness, gender neutrality, to me also feels like days where there's a gray area or where I'm very apathetic about gender. To me, that's what neutral is in my mind. But that's the part of me, like, I prefer using am, heirs pronouns. I use those pronouns online a lot. I really lean into the neutroi part of the identity in specific spaces, and my struggle with that is trying not to seem like I'm presenting androgynously or in a way that denotes that I'm genderless in some way. So a gendered neutral experience, gendered ed. In my brain that makes sense. Where it's neutral but not null. And then there is the feminine part of my identity. I always call this the queer part of my identity, my presentation of queerness, my way of saying I am queer. I'm a man who's dressing very femininely. Not very femininely. I haven't really leaned into like really feminine ways of presenting, but makeup or painting my nails or whatnot, like that's it's an expression of queerness is what I meant to say. That's the wording I used in a few recent videos before, where being feminine doesn't tie in with my gendered experience at all. It's a part of my identity, but nothing is affected by my femininity, and no part of my gender affects the way I present femininely. It's a very separate part of my gender. So I did talk about femininity and what it means to me, if it means anything to me, like why that's even a thing in my life. So there's that. And then I feel like there's another part of my identity that I would want to accommodate or focus on. And it's kind of the otherness of my identity. I guess the other queer part of my identity, because I feel like queerness to me has many different facets. But that's like experimenting with presenting in ways that I haven't tried before, mixing, matching, or experimenting with even more sets of pronouns. I've considered other types of pronouns before, but I've never really landed on any that I want to use other than the am air set in terms of like neo pronouns or pronouns outside of he, him, his. using different types of labels like proxphere or maverick. Proxphere is similar to being binary male, but sort of on its own plane. It's basically a genderqueer man in a way, but a big emphasis on the word queer. It's something different. It's similar to the familiarity of binary male, but it is at the same time very different and not in any way comparable. And then there's maverick, which is it's not male, not female, and it's not based in any of those, and it isn't neutral, but there is a specific gendered feeling which makes it not a genderless type of identity. It's kind of a standalone identity, but I guess you can also be like a maverick man or woman. It depends on the person who wants to use that term, but just labels that emphasize otherness, and emphasize an overlap or a gray area in my identity. Like how do I accommodate that when I haven't explored that part of me in depth? That's another struggle of mine, is looking into other gender stuff. Just, experimenting with gender in a way that I've never experimented before. So problems with everything, problems with this entire thing, accommodating, my different gendered experiences. To recap again, I mentioned, walking into my closet and seeing, clothing that spans from like feminine to neutral to masculine, literally in a gradient across my closet, trying to figure out how I feel that day and what to wear to express that part of my gender, or to present in a way that reflects that. Being unsure, should I present more masculinely, or more mask-leaning neutral, or experiment with some femininity, or, express like the overlap of my genders. I talked about how my two genders tend to overlap. There's a large overlap between the two identities, that weird gray area that I want to explore, but I'm not sure how to go about doing that. Stress over how to wear my hair. Hair is a huge factor in my dysphoria. Hair is very complicated. I might have talked about that in a previous video. I did have a video on dysphoria where I talked about, like, I don't know how to wear my hair. Like, I don't know if a ponytail is too feminine. I guess it depends on like how I'm wearing that ponytail. I don't want to cut it so short that it looks too masculine. I don't know. I need a way that says I'm queer without feeling dysphoric about it. And I also want a way to say, like, I'm a man. It's an important part of my identity, without coming off as like I am binary male, 100% man, and you should expect me to be masculine in that maleness. Trying to find a balance between those types of things. Stress over labels that I want to use masculine or neutral terms without, giving off the idea that I am fully binary male, or that I'm completely genderless. I never want to be degendered, which is using gender neutral terminology for a person when they've indicated that they want gendered terminology being used for them. I don't want to come off as like I want that queerness to come through. I want people to realize that I am queer, and it's kind of difficult because there really isn't terminology for people who are gendered, who are looking for neutral terminology but is still gendered. Neutral terminology that doesn't indicate like genderlessness, or like terminology and pronouns that are similar to like masculine terminology and pronouns, similar to he, him, similar to man, or boy, those kind of terms. There's not really many terms like that out there to talk about that type of experience. And if there are, they're very lesser known even within the queer community, even within the non-binary community. It's I don't know, it's kind of tough, I guess. Like, I don't know where my options are for experimenting in that sort of way. I can experiment with pronouns, and experiment with pronouns that are similar to he, him, pronouns that feel neutral, but they're not they, them pronouns or based on those. Nothing that indicates like a nullity or genderlessness in my identity. Just overall, there's the fear of not being able to properly reflect my gender. Like, I feel like being a binary man or woman is kind of easy. I don't want to like make a blanket statement about like trans men or trans women, but I feel like being binary is a little bit more easy, because if you're a binary man, you can easily like dress very masculinely and come off as masculine, a man, easily reflect your malehood using traditional ways of presentation. The same with like a binary woman. I feel like you could easily accommodate that gendered experience in your presentation. It gets a little more complicated when you're more in the neutral part of the spectrum, or if you want to experiment with queerness without trying to say that you are a specific gender by presenting a certain way. Closing statements. Gender has always been super weird and complicated for me ever since realizing that I did not have to be a perfectly binary, masculine, transgender man. Like, once I realized that there was a little bit more freedom in what I could do, like, it's become almost a nagging obsession over labels and pronouns and what to wear and how to present and everything. I think right now my game plan is to get more involved in queer communities, especially the multi-gender communities, and just kind of share my own experience and learn about the experiences of others. Learn about, how other people are, like, navigating their gendered experience. Like, finding out, like, what is it like being bigender and it's not male and female, it's two completely different genders than that. Like, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate fluidity? How do you navigate being mostly genderless? How do you navigate being other? Something way outside the, like, gender binary. Like, I think that coming up with a community, either coming up with a community or finding a community, I think would be a really good thing for me. And I was considering making a Discord server for multi-gender people, and just a place where, multi-gender adults could talk about their gendered experiences and what it's like to feel these different genders, how they present, what pronouns they decided to use, and talk about like new labels and new gender discoveries. Like, I think that kind of community, that kind of environment would be really beneficial. Also, I am open to any suggestion from viewers, any like advice, or just sharing your experiences, either, in the comments or in my Discord server. Like, that server is always there for responding to identity talk videos. So, I mean, if you want to share your own experiences, then like, by all means, go ahead. I'll be in the comments responding to those. And I'll also be in the Discord server as always. So if you respond to the video there, then I'll respond to that as well. So that leads into the question of the week. How do you accommodate your gender? So just basically your experience in presenting in a certain way that reflects your different gendered experiences on any given day. So let me know. I'll try to keep up on making video content. I did not plan on uploading this until I was sure that I had a backlog of videos. Identity Talk is ending soon in just a few episodes, so after that I will be making an announcement on just changes to the channel and what I plan on doing from here on out. So yeah, keep an eye out on that, and I hope everyone is doing pretty well. I will probably do like a quick vlog at some point talking about just what's been going on in my life and, you know, just everything going on. I've got so many new things that have happened recently, and I figured it'd be nice to just update everyone on what's going on. So there'll be that. I knew that was going to come out weird, but anyway, I am signing off for now. See you later.